today's stories. Let's take a look at stories making headlines tonight.
Educationally qualified. Joho silences his critics on his education, says he holds 2 university degrees despite scoring a D- in high school. Mutua promises to establish firm policies to ensure graduates are employed immediately after graduation. I am ready to resign. Oparanya affirms he stand if found guilty by the DPP with regard to presented corruption allegations against him. And in agribusiness tonight, we focus on a blowing machine invention that is created to reduce cleaning cost of cereals for small-scale farmers.
This is Weekend Live with Anyango, Sylvia.
That's right, and our sign language interpreter tonight is Lucy Kiarie. We begin. Former Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho asserted that he will prioritize on creating new policies in the mining industry which will make Kenya an attractive hub for both domestic and foreign investors. Speaking during his vetting, the nominated Cabinet Secretary for Mining, Blue Economy and Maritime Affairs also expressed his previous accomplishments as credentials to anchor his nomination.
Nominated Cabinet Secretary for Mining, Ali Hassan Joho clarified his contentious educational background during his vetting at Parliament buildings today. Joho asserted that despite attaining a D- on his KCSE exam, his determination and quest for knowledge has impelled him to acquire 2 university degrees and is currently pursuing masters at the Harvard Kennedy School.
So yes, I did not do well in my secondary school. I got a D-, no doubt. But Mr. Speaker, I turned that around. Today, as I sit here, I hold 2 degrees that are before you. Mr. Speaker, I am on my pathway to attain a master's degree from the most prestigious university in the world, and that is achieved by determination.
Joho emphasized that carefully examining and listening to investors' demands will be a key priority if approved by the vetting committee. He affirmed that this will be his way of acquiring critical information to make proper policies which are responsive to the current demands of investors. This is to ensure that Kenya becomes an attractive hub for investors, particularly on the mining sector.
If we take the right strategy, we deploy the right strategy, we can even remove ourselves from the hole of debt using our own resources. We can. We can. And we should. And therefore, I'll make it my business to ensure systems that work are deployed, processes that are efficient are used, so that we also can help this country move from the burden it is in today.
The former governor stated that although he values certain aspects of life, he will ensure a balance between his personal pleasures and his public responsibilities while responding to concerns by many Kenyans on his flashy, high-profile lifestyle. He announced to have amassed a net worth of 2.36 billion Kenya shillings from his various businesses while denying claims of any involvement in the narcotics industry.
My net worth is 2,361,332,249.
Joho also expressed his willingness to work with President Ruto if approved. His fate of joining the Kenyan cabinet now lies in the hands of the vetting committee.
Respond to the issue of your public statement never to talk to your appointing authority.
Mr. Speaker, hakuna mtu ameeleza vizuri kukuliko. Mpumbavu pekee yake ndo abadilishe mawazo. mtu mpumbavu.
Joho nomination was joyfully welcomed by coastal residents who continue to show support in President Ruto's new government formation. Victor Washira, KUTV.
The nominee for Ministry of Labour, Dr. Alfred Mutua, has given his word that if indeed he is approved for the position as Labour CS, he will deal with strikes before they happen and he will see it to that performing interns are absorbed in job market. Mutua is yet again in President Ruto's cabinet, having served in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Ministry of Tourism. This story was produced by Elsie Singor. Listen in.
Yet again, Dr. Alfred Mutua had to face the Parliamentary Vetting Committee, with him now being nominated to hold the office of Labour CS. Mutua highlighted that his main focus while taking up this position will be to counter strikes, stressing that he keeps an open door policy that enables him to get information on what is happening in various sectors.
An early warning system. And I'm going to look at all the sectors and have people who are confidently can come. I keep an open door policy for those members of Parliament that have even come to my office to see me. You know, I keep an open door policy for the different sectors to talk to me.
Furthermore, he has promised to enforce Labour policies that will ensure interns who perform well at the organizations are first to be absorbed when job vacancies open up within those companies.
And I'm going to bring a policy to Cabinet if I go through this process to ensure that if you are taken in as as an intern in a ministry and you don't have problems and you're okay and you pass a certain mark into your internship, because some can be taken and they're not fitting, you pass a certain mark, that when positions of employment of entry level are taken, that you start with those.
The committee brought the matter of his marital status. However, Wetangula defended him, saying that those were his bedroom matters and should not be put into consideration.
You asked about opulence.
Yes. I think there is no requirement for one to be married to be considered for public office in this country.
I'm saying that drama, there'll be some drama. You have talked about opulence. You talked about opulence on Muchumba Murkomen. You talked about opulence on Honorable Joho.
This committee will not open anybody's bedroom.
Dr. Mutua has 20 years of experience working for the government. He holds a PhD in communications and media and served as the first government spokesperson and the first governor for Machakos County.
And former Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya today appeared before the Parliamentary Vetting Committee led by Speaker Moses Wetangula on this fourth and final day of the ministerial vetting process. Oparanya promised that if found guilty of corruption charges, he would resign willingly without much resistance. Ronnie Mathege with more on this.
Despite the corruption allegations brought forward by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, EACC, the National Assembly's vetting committee allowed Honorable Wycliffe Oparanya to take part in the vetting process. The former governor of Kakamega County from 2013 to 2022 has been nominated to serve in the Ministry of Cooperatives and MSME Development by President Ruto. Oparanya was tasked to answer on the ongoing EACC allegations against him, claiming that he received 56.7 million shillings as illegal profits in his tenure as government. Oparanya, in his defense, stated that there are no audit reports naming him as corrupt. He continued by saying that the EACC is targeting him only because of his association with ODM party leader Raila Amolo Odinga.
I have served diligently for 10 years. I've been a minister for 5 years. We have had audit reports. In this audit report, there is no report that pointed on me as being a corrupt person.
Oparanya, in his statement before the committee, promised that if his nomination is approved, he would ensure the protection of Kenyans' funds invested in cooperatives. Similarly, Oparanya highlighted that he will set up structures to reform the hustlers, women, and youth funds to make them more beneficial.
If you approved my nomination, the first thing I would do is to make sure that there is a proper legal framework. There is a board. A board has just been put in, but there is no even staff. So to ensure that there is staff that will manage this particular fund properly.
On matters unemployment, Oparanya stated that he plans to assist the unemployed who are in great need by setting up measures to absorb the high number through cooperatives by influencing them to obtain funds to start or grow their businesses.
We have taken these micro and small and medium enterprises as our core function, and we are undertaking all that we can.
He concluded by saying that all cooperative societies should fully comply with government authorities and that if elected, he would ensure that county governments and the Ministry of Cooperatives engage in close consultations. Roni Mathenge, KUTV.
Former Attorney General Justin Muturi has addressed questions regarding youth employment issues, promising to ensure that young people secure full employment after their internship programs, thereby reducing youth unemployment in the country. The Public Service Cabinet Secretary nominee emphasized the importance of transparency and efficiency in the employment process for the youth.
Speaking during his vetting today, nominated Cabinet Secretary for Public Service Justin Muturi has emphasized the need to involve the private sector and focus on fields relevant to the interns training to ensure the programs lead to full employment rather than being a source of cheap labor. Citing Article 232 of the Kenyan Constitution, Muturi stressed the importance of efficiency and diversity in recruitment, calling for transparency in how many individuals are employed versus those still seeking jobs.
Making placements to indicate, first of all, to get to know how many people already are in service and from which counties, so as to ensure that those counties that do not have representation here, even through affirmative action, get the chance to work at this premier institution, national premier institution. I think we need to have a transparent mechanism of ensuring that there is the fairness that we have been talking about. And that is what is required of us.
Muturi suggested that those who are engaged in internship and training in the Public Service Commission PSC should be prioritized. He highlighted the need for collaboration in the PSC, advocating for different opinions without creating enmity. Muturi further criticized the lengthy and inefficient disciplinary processes within the PSC and called for improvements to reward and recognize performance, thereby enhancing service delivery.
It may not be possible for the public service, indeed not just me, it cannot be possible for the public service to employ every Kenyan that goes through the training. But it is the duty of government to ensure that we have policies and programs that make it possible for the economy to absorb those whom we train in our various institutions of higher learning and others.
Furthermore, he stressed the need to address the issue of civil servants involved in fraud, advocating for the arrest and prosecution.
Mr. Chairman, I think this is criminal. I think to send a clear message to those who are involved or may have been involved, the best thing is to have them arrested and prosecuted, because we must send a clear message that crime does not pay to everybody. So everybody seeking employment in the public service using fraudulent documents should be prepared that when they are found, they will face the full force of the law.
Muturi's commitment and promises reflects a broader push for reform and accountability in Kenya's employment landscape. Doris Chalo, KUTV.
And President William Ruto has acknowledged that Kenya is now ready for an economic takeoff. This is after the formation of a broad-based government that brought together the opposition and the ruling Kenya Kwanza government through nomination of cabinet secretaries from the Orange Democratic Movement, that is ODM, to serve in the government. The move has in turn created a striking synergy that is believed to have potential of unlocking the country's potential. Speaking during church service at the Kilgoris Deb Primary School in Narok County, the head of state implored leaders to take advantage of lack of political divide in the country and put to optimal use the resources and expertise they have to uplift Kenyans.
Sasa saa hizi tumeunda serikali ya kila mtu. Hakuna mtu sasa ya kulalamika. Hakuna mtu ya kupingana. Sasa sisi wote tusimame pamoja.
na tunataka kukushukuru kwa sababu ya kuunda serikali ambaye iko sasa kila mahali, so that every part of this country feels they are part and parcel of this government. Huyo mzee umemleta, alikuwa rafiki yetu kitambo, na wewe unakumbuka tulikuwa pamoja, wewe na mimi na wengine, na tumeshukuru umeleta yeye. So wacha serikali iendelee vizuri.
Tumepata utulivu. Juzi tumekuwa na maneno katika taifa la Kenya, na tunashukuru Mungu kwa sababu kupatia wewe hekima na maarifa and the wisdom, Kenya tumekuwa na utulivu.
Sasa
on that note, we are taking the very first break on the bulletin tonight. We'll be back with more stories. Don't go far.
Are you an aspiring media practitioner, a graduate, or you just want to advance your skills in television production? Then welcome to Kenyatta University, where education meets innovation. KUTV, the premier university television station in Kenya, is now offering short courses in TV studio, field technical operations, and video editing. Through these courses, you will acquire hands-on skills on camera operations, media production, lighting techniques, audiovisual editing, and sound and visual control, and how to operate key equipment in modern TV control room. Enroll today at KUTV and discover your full potential in cutting-edge TV broadcasting. Graduates of these courses will receive professional certificates. For more information, visit our offices at KUTV Studios or call us on 020-870-4252 or 020-870-4255 or SMS us on 0739-110-544. KUTV, a new experience.
Repossessing your property, intellectual or material.
This and more, only on Law Matters.
You are watching Weekend Live with Anyango Sylvia.
Welcome back. Remember, this broadcast is also live on YouTube at KUTV News Kenya, and you can engage with us on X at KUTV_Kenya at Anyango Sylvia KE. Now, Charles Odira from Mixer Technologies has created a blowing machine to remove foreign matter from cereals, improving quality and marketability. Demonstrated at Kilgoris Depot, the machine was praised for reducing cleaning costs and increasing produce value, representing a major advancement for small-scale farmers.
Charles Odira, a fabricator at Mixer Technologies Limited, has developed an innovative blowing machine designed to separate foreign matter from cereals and enhancing produce quality. Demonstrated at the Kilgoris National Cereals and Produce Board Depot, Odira showcased how the machine cleans maize and beans by removing soil, stones, leaves and debris, ensuring higher quality output for effective market sales.
Hii mashine nimeleta, kazi yake ni kutoa hizo particles ndogo ndogo, na hizo particles kama matawi yenye naweza kuwa kwa nafaka, na pia inaweza kutofautisha different sizes of grain. Sasa kama kuna foreign material yenye iko ndogo, itatoa.
Constructed with locally available materials, the machine features a hopper, blowing mechanism, and separation unit, making it affordable and accessible.
Farmer Representative Philip Olomunyak praised the machine for reducing cleaning costs, speeding up processes, and improving produce quality.
Tumesaidiwa na Cereals Growers Association, imerahisisha kazi ya kupepeta. Ni mashini ambayo iko portable, tunaweza toa mahali pamoja hadi kwingine, inarahisisha kazi kabisa.
Foreign contaminants in cereals have long been a challenge affecting quality and marketability. Addressing this, the Farm to Market Alliance and the World Food Programme collaborated with Odira to tailor the machine for small-scale farmers. Inspired by insights from Cereal Growers Association, Odira designed the machine to meet specific agricultural needs.
Aggregation ni kukusanya chakula ama kununua chakula kutoka kwa wakulima wadogo. Changamoto kubwa ambayo tuko nayo kwa hii sekta ya soko ni kitu inaitwa quality. Quality ambayo inaletwa sana na kitu inaitwa foreign matter. Foreign matter ni ile uchafu ambayo iko kwa maharagwe, kuna mchanga, kuna mawe, kuna hizo matakataka ambayo haistahili, inafanya ile chakula isiwe bora.
Farmers testing the machine rated its performance highly with scores above 85%. Encouraging young engineers to innovate, Odira emphasized the importance of local production and practical skill development. This groundbreaking machine represents a significant step forward for small-scale farmers, enhancing the quality and marketability of their produce. Brenda Nyongesa, KUTV.
Climate change refers to long-term shifts in temperatures and weather patterns. Human activities have been the main driver of climate change, primarily due to burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas. Take a look.
While the EPA two-day visit to Zimbabwe on Thursday in the country's El Nino-affected Matopo district, UN Assistant Secretary General Rina Gelan appealed immediately to the international community for $430 million to ease the food insecurity in the southern African nation. Gelano is also the UN Climate Crisis Coordinator for the El Nino response, told VOA that most of the countries feeling the effects of the climate change did not cause it.
Africa has only produced less than 4% of greenhouse gas emissions, and yet you can see here in Zimbabwe and then these southern African countries, massive impact. We need to urgently be investing in communities and supporting governments on not only mitigating the climate crisis, reducing emissions, but also, because it's here today, helping communities to adapt to the changes that we're seeing.
The naturally occurring El Nino climate pattern has affected southern African countries for decades, but the droughts have been coming more often and with greater intensity in recent years as global temperatures rise. One of those affected is Begazela Dube, a mother of four, now depending on odd jobs to survive because all her crops were burnt by the sun.
This year's rain season was really very bad, as we did not receive sufficient rainfall, and we did not manage to harvest anything from our field. Even watermelons failed to grow.
The World Food Programme says 5 southern African countries, Lesotho, Malawi, Namibia, Zambia, and Zimbabwe, have declared the drought a national disaster. Angola and Mozambique are also feeling the impacts.
People are talking about a drought that's more severe than they've seen in 40 years in the country. But we're seeing similar things play out across an additional 6 countries in Southern Africa, where 27 million people are facing hunger this year because of the El Nino situation.
Zimbabwe's next harvest is not expected until March. Obey Chaputsira, a Matopo district coordinator, says Zimbabwe's government is trying to limit the effects of the drought in his district, where 45,000 people are getting free grain and throughout the country.
We have also embarked on the program of drilling bores, because most of our bores, they are seasonal in the district, so most of them are starting to dry up. We have a comparative advantage that we have a lot of sand in our rivers, so we are extracting water from that sand and coming up with piped water schemes.
The government hopes these efforts produce enough water for vegetable gardens to ensure communities have a balanced diet as they wait for the next rains expected in late October. Columbus Mavunga, VOA News, Matobo, Zimbabwe.
And China is looking to import more agricultural products from African countries to address trade deficit. The first batch of South African avocados will soon be headed to China. Take a look.
This fruit is so valuable, it's been dubbed green gold, and it's destined for China.
At the end of the BRICS summit last year, the deal was signed to export avocados to China. So we now have access to China, but there's been a big process in between to meet all the requirements of the protocol that was agreed to. And we're very close now to being able to send the first shipment to China.
Derek Donkin is the CEO of a South African Fruit Growers Association and has been working with Chinese inspectors to open so-called green lanes to get avocado exports off the ground. China has long been the African continent's biggest trade partner, but the Asian giant exports some $60 billion more in goods to Africa each year than it imports. In South Africa's case, China exported $11 billion more than it imported in 2022, the most recent year for which figures are available.
Because there's been a strong impetus from the Chinese as well to make sure that this deal happens, because they're aware of that trade imbalance and that they need to be taking more exports from South Africa.
South Africa also exports its agricultural produce to the EU and US, which are its third and fourth largest markets respectively, behind the African continent and China. Many of South Africa's agricultural products benefit from tariff-free access to the US market under Washington's African Growth and Opportunity Act. The avocado deal with Beijing was made last year when South Africa hosted Chinese President Xi Jinping on a state visit alongside the summit of the BRICS group of emerging economies. At the time, South Africa urged China to address the trade deficit. Experts say China is also expanding its imports of semi-processed agriculture from Africa to ensure food security and avoid price inflation.
Another kind of bigger geostrategic reason for the push on food exports is similar to kind of diversify the global agricultural supply chain. You know, you've had this pressure on China, you've got the soybean pressure from the US, you've got different pressures and trade tensions between Australia and China.
As part of its agricultural push in Africa, China also imports soybeans, citrus, wine and rooibos tea from South Africa, avocados and tea from Kenya, and coffee from Rwanda and Ethiopia. China's new ambassador to South Africa, Wu Peng, has promised measures are being taken to speed up the export of more agricultural products to China. The potential of this is huge, says Clive Garrett, marketing manager for ZZ2, a South African farming conglomerate which will soon be exporting its avocados to China.
Until October in 2023, South Africa really could only export to Europe, a little bit to the Middle East. But now, since then, we've had Japan, China, and India open to us. And these are very exciting markets because the per capita consumption in these markets is still incredibly low. So we see huge opportunities of going into these markets.
According to industry estimates, there are some 300 million people in China earning enough to buy imported fruit. That can only be good news for farmers and workers here in this bucolic mountain town. Kate Bartlett, VOA News, Zanin, Limpopo, South Africa.
Petri. I'm Associate Professor in the Institute of Philosophy of Jagiellonian University in Krakow, Poland. And I'm the main coordinator of the Cafe project, which is being here hosted by Kenyatta University.
My name is Eva Hudoba. I am a project manager in this consortium. Keep watching cutting edge research at Kenyatta University Television.
Maelfu na maelfu ya wahamiaji wakiwa na watoto kutoka nchi za Amerika ya Kati wanaendelea kuwasili kwenye mpaka kati ya Marekani na Mexico.
But folks, I'm going. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ni habari kutoka pembe zote duniani.
Pepo pasi vuguvugu. Pepo pani idea.
Tazidi ananyonya, hanyonyi vizuri, anakuwa hayuko comfortable.
Jeshi la Jamhuri ya Kidemokrasia ya Kongo linapambana na waasi wa ADF.
Wito kwa mashirika, makampuni na vile vituo vya uchukuzi.
Mambo mengi yatakwenda kama yalivyopangwa.
Hapa ni kuna mmoja wa viongozi wa chama cha wavuvi katika eneo hili.
Zaidi tunajaribu kuwapa chanjo ili ina boost ama inanyanyua kinga ya mwili, hiyo inaenda kupelekea kupambana na virusi.
Ni dunia ni leo, Jumatatu mpaka Ijumaa, moja kwa moja kutoka VOA Swahili, Washington DC.
Kilo 2 za njugu zilimpatia motisha ya kuanzisha kampuni yake ya usindikaji ya Ark Peanuts.
Rafiki yangu akanipa mawaidha, akaniuliza kama najua kupika njugu. Nikamwambia najua. Nilikuwa nimefunzwa na nilikuwa najua kupika njugu. Na akahakikisha ya kwamba nimeanza. Akaenda sokoni, akaninunulia njugu kilo 2, akaniletea na akaniambia niende nianze.
Sasa Selina Owakwabi anaongeza thamani ya nafaka kama vile njugu, korosho na simsim kwa ustadi na ubunifu. Ipate simulizi hii katika kipindi cha Mwanamke Mwake wiki hii, nami Caroline Kimwele.
Welcome back. Apologies for the technical errors that happened before. And now on to sports tonight. Brenda Faith Cherotich and Beatrice Chepkoech have secured their spots in the women's 3,000 steeplechase final. Cherotich finished second in her heat with a time of 9 minutes 10.57 seconds, just behind Uganda's Olympic champion Peru Jemutai, who clocked 9 minutes 10.51 seconds for first place. Kenyan-born Bahraini athlete Winfred Yavi won her race in 9 minutes 15.11 seconds, followed by Ethiopian Sembon Almayeu, who clocked 9 minutes 15.42 seconds, while American Valerie Costin clocked 9 minutes 16.33 seconds for third place. Beatrice Chepkoech, the world record holder, dominated their heat, finishing first in 9 minutes 13.56 seconds, ensuring Kenya has 2 representatives in the final. Unfortunately, Jacqueline Chepkoech missed out, finishing last in her heat. That is it from us tonight. Thank you so much for choosing KUTV and for keeping it KUTV this far. Our sign language interpreter tonight has been Lucy Kiarie, and I'm Anyango Sylvia. Have a good night.